Hello there, I'm Anya Altamirano. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Empowering Teachers Worldwide. Today, we're going to have a look at the last of the series, the video of the series, this initial series of Assessment for Learning, the Road to Improvement. In the first video of the series, we looked at what formative assessment is, why it is beneficial for students. We also explored the 10 principles of assessment for learning as set by the Assessment Reform Group, and we established the place it has in our lesson. In the second one, we established what elements constitute assessment for learning, and we looked at two of them, learning intentions and success criteria. Now, in this video, we are going to look at feedback, and most importantly, formative feedback. Now, I'm going to show you some examples of feedback prompts. Here you have 5 examples of feedback prompts. Which would you say are examples of quality formative feedback? Take a few seconds or a minute to look at the prompts, and if you wish, you can make notes or stop the video and look at them. Now, here we have these 5 examples. Now, what happens? A, beautiful, neat work. Very positive. It gives praise for the pupil's work, but it doesn't highlight exactly what the pupil did well. So, it's not very good feedback, very useful feedback. Then we have C and D. You must try harder. Develop these ideas further. How? They do not, these 2 prompts do not give sufficient direction to the student on how to improve their work. Okay, many a time we tell the students, you must try harder, and the answer is, teacher, I do try harder, but I don't seem to make an improvement. How can I improve? Develop these ideas further. How? What shall I do? Along what lines? So these 2 prompts do not give the student guidance. Now, B and E can be considered qualitative formative feedback because the student is receiving guidance on how to improve their work. It says, try one of these adjectives or one of your own instead of bad. Very good start. Count how many times you have used said. What word might you have used? We are not giving them the solution, but we are giving them some orientation. So, Hattie and Timperley, in their work, they state that formative feedback is the most useful and powerful single moderator in the enhancement of achievement. It prevents students from repeating the same errors and making errors part of their mental strategies. Many a time, we asked our students to work in pairs or in small groups, look at each other's work, and give each other feedback. And quite often, we are disappointed when they say things like, it's nice, I like it, it's interesting. So clearly, this feedback is of no use. But have we made it clear to them what feedback is? Do we ever analyze the kind of feedback we give? So, formative feedback focuses on what is said to the students and how it is said, so that they will understand what you said, emotionally accept what is being said, be willing to make a change, and actually implement the change. Feedback is only successful if students' learning improves. And this depends on their capacity to understand it and an inclination to accept and act upon it. It's got an interpersonal, motivational element that cannot be brushed aside. But the goal of all this is to change the student's capacity to produce better work, not just to improve their work. Now, what are the characteristics of good formative feedback? Feedback can be given by the teacher or by peers, but in both cases, it needs to have the same characteristics. It should be timely. The sooner it is given, the better. When feedback is given immediately after showing proof of learning, the student responds positively and remembers the experience about what is being learned in a confident manner. If we wait too long to give feedback, the moment is lost and the student might not connect the feedback with the action. Also, feedback should be educative in nature. That is, providing feedback means giving students an explanation of what they are doing correctly and incorrectly. However, the focus of the feedback should be based essentially on what the student is doing right. It is more productive to a student's learning when they are provided with an explanation, an example as to what is accurate and inaccurate about their work. Consider using the concept of a feedback sandwich to guide your feedback. That is, compliment, correct, compliment. It should also be specific. Students need to understand what they have done well and what they need to improve or to change, and focus on next. When the feedback is superficial, generic, like the one we have seen before, students are unable to decide what to do next. Again, it should be understandable. And this relates to, remember, the learning intentions and success criteria that we mentioned a few videos ago. Rubrics developed by both the teacher and the students are written in student-friendly language. And these are a good way to ensure that the feedback is understandable. It should also be actionable. That is, it must provide opportunities to act upon the information we are providing. We, or the peer, is providing. It should be sensitive to the individual needs of the student. It is vital that we take into consideration each student individually when giving feedback. Our classrooms are full of diverse students. Some students need to be nudged in order to achieve a higher level, and others need to be handled very gently so as not to discourage learning and damage their self-esteem. So a balance between not wanting to hurt feelings and providing proper encouragement is essential. And of course, it should be aligned with the learning intentions and the success criteria. Now, there are a few things to bear in mind. Base feedback on the learning goal and avoid comparing students to other students. Focus only on 2 or 3 critical feedback points at a time. Students may be ready to accept up to 3 criticisms, but then they are likely to shut down if they hear more. They do the hippo thing. I always say that they have the hippo syndrome. When hippos go underwater, they have a membrane that covers their ears and nostrils so that water doesn't go in. Okay, if students hear more than 3 pieces of criticism, they will close their ears and switch off. Also, provide concrete suggestions for improvement. Again, avoid vague language like work harder. Directly communicate the strength or the gap to the student. For example, you know the vocabulary of food. You can improve now by learning to ask food-related questions, for example. Suggest small, manageable change rather than large, complex ones. That is, baby steps usually take you further away than too ambitious goals. Use praise. Praising students for good performance is believed to increase motivation and to foster positive attitudes to learning. And praise is more effective when it is specific. Highlight accurate and appropriate language use rather than pointing out the errors. Confirming that a student has produced accurate and appropriate language in a particular instance, avoiding, for example, a very common mistake, is likely to benefit both the individual student and others in the class who will have their attention drawn to the language item in question. Plan the monitoring of speaking activities. It is not easy to monitor group speaking activities, and it's easy to focus attention on errors. We need to decide in advance that what we need to observe in some groups. Some groups will focus on the content. For some other groups, we will focus on examples of accurate language use. So we need to get ready for that and decide what we are going to focus on. Adopt a supportive manner. The potential for anxiety will be reduced if you are tactful, supportive, and sensitive in interventions, particularly in speaking activities when students are always afraid to lose face in front of the rest of the class. Encourage positive feedback from peers. At the end of a pair of group work activity, students can be asked to tell their peers one or more things that they have done well. And also show interest in the content of what students have said. If students are to focus primarily on communicating their ideas rather than focusing on accuracy, we need to show interest in what they say and respond to the ideas that they have expressed. For example, oh, that was an original idea. I had never thought about that. Yes, or so-and-so was saying something interesting about that other thing, but I didn't catch all of it. Could you tell us again? So all these can act as positive reinforcement. Well, I hope that all these videos have been useful in order to give you a taster of what assessment for learning is and the things that need to be focused on. There are, of course, lots of other things to go deeper into, but at least with these videos, you have a general idea of what assessment for learning involves. And well, here you have my contacts. You can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. Also, you can contact me by email, or you can go on watching videos on this YouTube channel and subscribe to it. So bye-bye for now.